नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Nam Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Narayanam Namaskrityam
नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
Tato Jayamudirayet
ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्।
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
Bhagavati Ruttama Sloke
भगवती उत्तम श्लोके
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1 Chapter 9 Verse 40 Lalita Gati Vilasa Valguhasa
ललित गति विलास बलुगुहसा
Pranaya Nirikshana Kalpitorumana
निरीक्षण कल्पितोरुमना
Kritam Anukritavatya Agunmadhanda
कृतम अनुकृतव्यत्य
Prakritim Agankilayasya Kopabadhva
प्रकृतिम अगन्किलयस्य गोपवद्वा
Lalita Gati Vilasa Valguhasa
ललित गति विलास वल्गुहासा
Pranaya Nirikshana Kalpitorumana
प्रणय निरीक्षण कल्पितोरुमाना
Kritamanukrutavatya Unmadanda
कृतम अनुकृतव्यत्य अन्मदाना
Prakritim Agankilayasya Gopavadva
प्रकृतिम अगन्किलयस्य गोपवद्वा
ललित गति विलास वल्गुहासा
ललित गति विलास वल्गुहासा
Valguhasa
प्रणय निरीक्षण कल्पितोरुमाना
Pranaya Nirikshana Kalpitorumana
कृतम् अनुकृतवत्य उन्मदान्ता
Kritamanukrutavatya Unmadanda
प्रकृतिम् अगन्किलयस्य गोपवद्वा
Prakritim Agankilayasya Gopavadva. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Avai Charanarinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Synonyms: Lalita, attractive.
ललिता attractive
Gati, movements.
गति moments
Vilasa, fascinating acts.
Vilasa fascinating act
Valguhasa, sweet smiling.
Valguhasa sweet smiling
Pranaya, loving.
Pranaya loving
Nirikshana, looking upon.
Nirikshana looking upon
Kalpita, mentality.
Kalpita mentality
Urumana, highly glorified.
Urumana highly glorified
Kritam Anukritavatya, in the act of copying the movements.
Kritam Anukritavatya in the act of copying the movements
Unmada Andha, gone mad in ecstasy.
Unmada Andha gone mad in ecstasy
Prakritim, characteristics.
Prakritim characteristics
Agan, underwent.
Agan underwent
Kila, certainly.
Kila certainly
Yasya, whose.
Yasya whose
Gopavadva, the cowherd damsels.
Gopavadva the cowherd damsels.
Translation, please repeat after me. Let my mind be fixed upon Lord Sri Krishna,
Let my mind be fixed upon Lord Sri Krishna,
whose motions and smiles of love attracted the damsels of Brajadama, the gopis.
whose
whose
motions
motions and smiles of love attracted
the damsels
of
of
Brajadhama,
the gopis.
the
The
gopis.
damsels imitated the characteristic movements of the Lord
The
The
damsels
damsels
Imitated
imitated the characteristic movements
of
of the Lord
after his disappearance from the rasa dance.
after his
after his
disappearance.
disappearance from the rasa dance.
Purport.
Purport. By intense ecstasy in loving service, the damsels of Brajabhumi attained qualitative oneness with the Lord by dancing with him on an equal level, embracing him in nuptial love, smiling at him in joke, and looking at him with a loving attitude. The relation of the Lord with Arjuna is undoubtedly praiseworthy for devotees like Bhishma Deva, but the relation of the gopis with the Lord is still more praiseworthy because of their still more purified loving service. By the grace of the Lord, Arjuna was fortunate enough to have the fraternal service of the Lord as chariot driver, but the Lord did not award Arjuna with equal strength. The gopis, however, practically became one with the Lord by attainment of equal footing with the Lord. Bhishma's aspiration to remember the gopis is a prayer to have their mercy also at the last stage of his life. The Lord is satisfied more when his pure devotees are glorified, and therefore Bhishmadeva has not only glorified the acts of Arjuna, his immediate object of attraction, but has also remembered the gopis who were endowed with unrivaled opportunities for rendering loving service to the Lord. The gopis' equality with the Lord should never be misunderstood to be like the Sahuj, Sayujya liberation, of the impersonalist. The equality is one of perfect ecstasy where the differential conception is completely eradicated for the interests of the lover and the beloved become identical.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangulangayate Girim Yirupatamahamam Vande Shri Gurum Dinatharinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Jaya Pathaka Swamin Iti namine namo acharya padaya nitaya kripa pradayine gaurakata dhamadhaya nagara grama tarine namo Vishnu padaya Krishna prasthaya bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadhe Paschatya Desatharine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopala Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudanam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangulangayate Girim Tripatamam Sri Gurum Dinatharinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Jai Hari Om Tat Sat. So very beautiful. Lord Krishna is offering to the fallen conditioned souls to be perfect themselves 5 kinds of rasa or relationship, individually, one-to-one, privately, with every jiva. Shantarasa, Dasya Rasa, Sakya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, and Madhurya Rasa. These are all the 5. ecstasies, 5 different levels of ecstasies a devotee can very easily undergo if he has similar ecstatic person as associated spiritual master and following his guidelines, practicing Krishna consciousness. So, Bhishma Dev has already been told by Srila Prabhupada in a purport previous verses that he is in the Dasya Rasa. But nevertheless, he has complete knowledge about the Lord and the supremacy and all the different relationships that are entertained by the Lord with the Jiva. So Bhishma Dev was addressing always Arjuna Saka, Vijaya Saka. So the Lord is very pleased when his devotees are glorified. So Bhishma, situated in a very wonderful Rashya Dasa, Dasya Rasa, so he is experiencing ecstasy, especially when he is addressing Krishna with Arjuna. Arjuna is superior in the rasa levels to Bhishma, if you see, because first is Shanta Rasa, then Dasya Rasa, and then this fraternity. So Krishna has offered fraternity, love with Arjuna, shared with Arjuna. So Bhishma Dev was praising that. However, Bhishma Dev knows there is 2 more levels. That is Vatsalya and Madhurya. So Bhishma wants to get the mercy of all those, just like, this is called authority. Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that everybody should follow in the footsteps of Braja Gopis in the performing of Bhakti Yoga. So Bhishma is here praying for the mercy of those Braja Gopis at the time of his quitting his body, so that he can be situated very perfectly in relationship with Krishna. So knowing well everybody's status, the praising of them is the unique quality of a Vaishnava. So Bhishma Dev understands very clearly that he is in the level of praising Arjuna, because Arjuna is in the fraternity love, and himself, Bhishma, is in the Dasya Rasa, ecstasy he is experiencing, and he wants to have the mercy of even the Raja Gopis, who is in the ecstatic of nuptial love, or, Madhurya Rasa. So this is the position of an authority like Bhishma Dev or Maha Bhagavats. So they are fully in ecstasy, and then knowing well everybody's position uniquely, individually, constitutionally, and praising them according to the nature. There is no rasa abhasha or there is no nama abhasha here. So that is the beauty of when we hear from authorities. The intense ecstasy in loving service is achieved qualitative oneness as long as the damsels of Brajabhumi is concerned. Srila Prabhupada writes here, that is, equally footing with Sri Krishna, embracing him, smiling him in joke, looking at him with a loving attitude. So these are all some of the symptoms of the Madhurya Rasa damsels Prabhupada is giving quote here. And Bhishma Dev is meditating on the mercy of those Brajavasis, so that he can perfect himself into the rasa where he is dealing with Krishna in relation. So Arjuna is Prabhupada is very clearly quoting, because Bhishma Dev was already mentioned by Srila Prabhupada as in the ecstasy of Rasya Dasa Rasa, and here Arjuna is undoubtedly praiseworthy for devotees like Bhishma Deva. However, the relation with the gopis with the Lord is still more praiseworthy. Why? Because they have more purified, loving service to Krishna. So it is by the mercy of the Lord and Guru that Arjuna was fortunate. In Arjuna's case, both Lord and Guru are the same person, that is Krishna. Guru Krishna Kripa Paye Bhakti Latha Biche. So the Krishna was also there with Arjuna, as well as he acted as a spiritual master, the supreme spiritual master to Arjuna. So he was fortunate enough to have directly the fraternal service of the Lord as chariot driver. You see, when Krishna, in the fraternity also, there is a equality considered. Okay, there is no superior, inferior, just like in the conjugal love, in fraternity also. But in Dasya Rasa, there is a master and servant relationship. And in Vatsalya Rasa, Krishna becomes subordinate to the parents. So, however, on this level of fraternity and Madhurya Rasa, there is no higher and lower. There is a equanimity is felt between two friends. Similarly, equanimity is felt between the damsels of Raja and Krishna. So this is definitely praiseworthy, but still the damsels of Raja's love is more purified comparing to Arjuna's level of Sakya Rasa, fraternal service. So this particular rasa is nothing but service to the Lord. Service to the Lord in a different mood to the Lord. It's all perfect only. It is not that, okay, Dasya is inferior to Sakya. No, it is not like that. It is the mood of the Lord to accept the service. So accordingly, the devotee takes the mood of that particular service and eternally engage in the service of the Lord to please him. So this each rasa is a service that living entity can offer to Krishna. 5 levels, 5 modes of Krishna. So as a servant, you can serve the master. And as a friend, you can serve and you can accept service. And as a parent, you can accept service and serve as a parent and protecting Krishna. And as a Kangalau, again, share. So these are all the beautiful different rasas or the services that can be rendered by the devotee on a pure unalloyed ecstasy. Otherwise, the word rasa does not have any, phenomenal meaning here. If the devotee is not in ecstasy, if the devotee is not completely purified, okay? So nevertheless, we should not consider that Dasya rasa is less purified. No, it is not. Everything is perfect. It is like the birds flying in the sky. Sky is sky, and the bird can fly as high as it wants. That is that to their full supreme free will is given to them. So out of love and ecstasy, a devotee can rise as high as he cannot actually rise otherwise. That is the purpose of ecstasy. So in such ecstasy, Krishna loves that particular rasa and he comes in contact, in relation with the devotee and exchanges services with the devotee based on the devotee's satisfaction of his own level, whether it is Dasya rasa, Sakya rasa, Vatsalya rasa, Madhurya rasa. So it is by the grace of the Lord, these things happen. And here to Arjuna, the Lord has become, become the chariot driver. And for Bhishma, the Lord has broken his promise. Just see the two different reciprocation. To Arjuna, Krishna has become the driver, subordinate to him. To Bhishma, Krishna shows, see, I have given up my promise. No problem. Let the defaming come to me, but it should not come to you. You are my very dear servant. So this is the reciprocal of the Lord to different rasa people, and differently he does that. So nevertheless, there is nothing, less or more you can see from here, from the reciprocal point of view from the Lord. Lord is reciprocating 100% to a devotee. Ye yatatmam prapadyante tam tataiva bachamyaham. So Bhishma is now remembering the gopis and a prayer to have their mercy also in the last stage of life. This is typical perfection of a Vaishnava. So Bhishma is demonstrating how to give up the body at the time of death. So the Lord is more satisfied when his pure devotees are glorified. When Arjuna is glorified, the Lord is very pleased. When Jasoda and Nanda Maharaj is glorified, the Lord is very pleased. Simply by telling Nanda Nandana, Yasoda Nandana, they are glorified. And Lord becomes very pleased. Now, when he speaks about damsels of Raja, the Lord is most pleased. He is most pleased because the devotee become instrumental for the Lord to remember the Vrajadam and everything. Of course, Krishna never forgets anything, is a different thing. But then, the rasa, the mood, shifting the mood of the Lord from one mood to another mood is also the influence of the devotee's ecstasy. When in ecstasy, when the devotee is reminding, just like in Dwaraka, when Krishna was there, so suddenly when there was a situation where he remembered the Vrajadam. This does not necessarily mean Krishna forgets. Krishna does not forget anything, but shifting of his mood, he likes that. So a devotee, a pure devotee in ecstasy can shift the mood of the Lord from one rasa to a higher rasa to the higher rasa. And the Lord becomes more and more enjoying and is relishing more and more. And this is how the loving exchange between the Lord and the devotee becomes. And the Lord becomes more and more pleased with the devotee when out of ecstasy, the devotee is shifting the mood of the Lord to a higher taste. So this is a very beautiful demonstration that Bhishma Dev is giving here. And Bhishma Dev, his object of attraction is only Krishna now and nothing else. But he does not remember alone Krishna, because nobody can remember Krishna alone, for good reason that Krishna never alone. Krishna is never alone. It's one of the 64 attributes of Krishna as perceived by Srila Rupa Goswami, as conceived by Rupa Goswami and announced in the Nectar of Devotion. So if you think of Krishna alone, then you are not thinking of Krishna, because Krishna is never alone. He never leaves Vrindavan. He's always with his associates, his different levels of rasa, ecstatic devotees. He's assembled with the devotees. You will never find Krishna alone. So this is when you remember Krishna, then you cannot Krishna remember alone. So here, either Bhishmadev is remembering Krishna along with Arjuna in the chariot, or he is remembering Krishna along with Vrindavan Dhama and the damsels of Vrindavan. You can also remember Krishna along with Vrindavan Dhama and Nanda Nandana and Yasoda Nandana. So like that, it is Krishna is always remembered. And the gopis' equality with the Lord also should not be misunderstood, because in Sayuji Mukti, we see that he is going an impersonal Brahman. They are merging with the Krishna and become equal to him. That is different. Okay, this is different. This is actually a perfect ecstasy. This is one of the perfect ecstasy, and there is no differentiation conceptually felt either by Krishna or by the gopis. Similarly, on the fraternity level also, they feel equal to each other. They don't feel any supremacy over the other. So these are all different, this is called equality or oneness with Krishna. This not oneness of the impersonalist of impersonal Brahman or merging into Brahma Jyoti, Sayuji Mukti. No, this is actually two individual persons equally playing around with each other out of love, out of intense love. So in such intense love, the lover and the beloved become identical with each other. So this equality cannot be understood by the Mayavadis or impersonalists. This is totally different. Hare Krishna. You would like to speak on this?
I would like to tell a pastime.
Jai.
So, I would like to tell a pastime of Jnanati Mirandhasi Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksharu Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. In the chapter, yeah. So, Jai Guru Maharaj ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So, it's very beautiful that contrast is shown here. We see here, Bhishma Dev was explaining about the various realizations which we had in direct perception of the activities of the Supreme Lord. But now he is speaking about some vilasa, some amazing sweet pastimes. Attractive gati, vilasa, valguhasa, smiling, pranaya, nirikshana, looping upon, like this, in this way, loving exchanges with the gopis Krishna had, and the damsels were acting. So how does Bhishmadev? No, not with practical, he was not in Vrindavan, but he had, Vyasadev was there at that time. Vyasadev was the main, the literary incarnation of the Lord, as well as the guide of the entire dynasty of Kurus. So Vyasadev is the one who gave the vision to Sanjaya also. Other than that, we saw that there is an episode in which Rohini and Krishna and Balrama will come out of Vrindavan when they were 16-year-old, when Krishna became 16-year-old. And on his birthday, he was taken to Mathura, and then Kamsa was killed, and Devaki and Vasudeva were released, and Ugrasena was the king, that is Devaki's father. And then he was made a king, and they were all princes. And later, when there was constant attack on Vrindavan, on Mathura, then Krishna created this Dwaraka, which was already like Balram married Revati, and Revati's father, he had Kukudmi. He had his kingdom old Anarthas. That place is called Anarthas. So that was inside the ocean, but it was uninhabited. Then Krishna made Dwaraka there, and then he shifted overnight the entire Mathura people to Dwaraka because of the constant attack and all that. So in this way, sweet pastimes in which the Rohini, and later they all met Rohini in Kurukshetra. There is during lunar eclipse, and Rohini explained all the pastimes which Krishna performed in Vrindavan. Like this, they heard from authorities. Bhishma Dev heard from authority, where he was able to see. That is why that is the difference between simply gathering information and hearing from authority. These are two different things. When we are hearing from authority, we can just see. And when we are gathering information, it is simply utopian. Like it is just like a fairy tale. So that is the difference from hearing from anybody else and hearing from authoritative source. Especially those who have seen. Rohini has seen, and many of them. There was Paurnamasi. She has seen. Who's mother? Gargamani, not Shantibini Muni's mother. She also lived in Vrindavan, but she entered into confidential pastimes of the Lord. So in this way, beautiful, they all enacted the characteristics movement after imitate the characteristics movement of the Lord after his disappearance. So I would like to narrate a very nice pastime which is there in the Krishna book. The Krishna book explains about, in this month also we wanted to read Krishna book further, which we read in during Janmashtami. Their amazing pastimes are being revealed, which is actually the 10th canto summarized by Srila Prabhupada for ordinary person, even though they would like to know about Krishna's pastime and they cannot wait till 10th canto. So authoritatively, he wanted to give a simplified version, in a textual version of Lord Krishna's pastime. So Prabhupada earlier itself released this Krishna book, even before Bhagavad Gita, or simultaneously with Bhagavad Gita, I think. So in this way, we are getting to know the pastimes of the Lord. There, Krishna, after leaving Vrindavan, he comes to Dwaraka, and he's living in Dwaraka. At that time, he wants Uddhava. Uddhava is the most dear friend of Krishna in Dwaraka. We can say his relationship with Krishna was very, very high. So in Dwaraka, also there is, of course, there are admirers are there, like plants and trees and everything. They are also spiritual. So we have Shanta Baba, then we have Dasya Baba, then we have Sakya Baba, then we have Vatsalya Baba, and then Madhurya Baba, or Rasa. We can take it as a Rasa, or relationship. Or the mellow rising out of relationship. That is what is called Rasa. So this relationship or exchanges, mutual exchange with the Supreme Lord, based on a particular specific feeling, specific relationship and feeling. So it may be a conversation, it may be different things. It may be activity, it may be conversation, it may be thinking. So it may be any of the activity, but there is a reciprocation of the Supreme Lord for that particular thinking, acting, or speech, for everything. So Uddhava was considered to be very top class, even though there in Madhurya Rasa, there were wives, 16,108 wives. In that, 8 wives are primary, and they were as wives in relationship. They are also there. So what is the difference between the affection which is there in the Dwaraka and the affection which is there in Vrindavan? So that is very nicely shown by the pastime itself, where in Dwaraka, everybody was authoritatively relative of Krishna. Wife means authoritatively wife. So generally, according to the law, or the Vedic scriptures or law, a wife is supposed to love the husband, so they loved. But in Vrindavan also, that Krishna is a foster child. So he was not actually the son of Yashodananda. And he was not the husband of, the boyfriend of these girls. He is not a village boy of them. Actually, he was brought by Vasudeva. So even by law, he is not the son of Yashoda. So even after Yashoda coming to know that he is the foster son, that he was brought in order for safeguarding from Kamsa, from the palace of Dwaraka, palace of Mathura into Vrindavan. After knowing that also, her lamentation never stopped in separation from Krishna. Her love never decreased, and in fact, it increased. That is known when Uddhava goes back. So then Krishna is seeing that this Uddhava is a very, very sweet cousin of him and very nicely serving him in friendship. So he can express everything to Uddhava. So very confidential friend. So he's thinking that Uddhava should get to the next level. He should come to know about Vrajavasis. So that is not known actually. When you see, it's like a secret. That the fasting goes like this, that Krishna is telling to Uddhava that I hear that the people in Vrindavan are in very much distress due to my absence. So can you take a message to them and do? So Uddhava is considered very expert in negotiation. Even Duryodhana will arrest the son of Krishna, because son of Krishna want to marry Duryodhana's daughter. So they both will like each other. And when he goes there to meet her, then they will see that he is coming to meet, then they'll arrest. Then Uddhava will go and he'll negotiate. In this way, there are many negotiations which Uddhava has very, very successfully done. Many very expert in all this political affairs, but in a justified manner and great affection with Krishna. So what happened is, Arjun, then Krishna is telling, you are very expert in negotiation, but these Brajavasis are very depressed because of my absence. So why can't you go and pacify them? No problem. He thought, okay, it's a village, simple people. So many people he has negotiated and made them all right. So let me go here and let me talk to them and I'll pacify them. So he gives a letter, Krishna gives a letter. So he takes the letter and goes to Vrindavan. And once he enters the Vrindavan, from there, his idea of understanding any relationship with Krishna changed totally. Like he saw that he asked the way to the house of Nanda and Yashoda. And people said that, yeah, you can see a river there. It's a saltwater river. You follow that river, it will go directly to Nanda Bhavan. So that then he asked, oh, is it the saltwater river is coming from there? No, it is not a river actually, it is the tear of Yashoda. Tear of Yashoda. So that is what is coming from down. Please hold on. He goes to the Nanda Bhavan. This pastime was told in Vrindavan by Dinabandhu Prabhu. And once reached then he found out that the river of tear is coming in separation from Krishna, that so much affectionate. And then he goes there and he was really taken aback and bewildered by the way that Yashoda was crying. Continuously tear was flowing. And Uddhava looks similar to Krishna because of the thought of Krishna and his worship of Krishna in the young age. So he also looks blackish and all. And there is a chariot from Mathura, and people thought that Krishna only has come back to see Yashoda. So they were seeing the chariot and they were also rushing. So once he came there to this is in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Then once he came inside the house of Yashoda and Nanda, he was staying there. He's looking at them and then he's trying to pacify. He came for negotiation, he came for pacifying, consoling them and going back in success to Krishna. So then they are crying in such heavy manner, then continuous tears, and then Uddhava starts this negotiation, saying that don't worry, like see, you have a thought that he's your son, that is okay. But now at least you should understand he's not just your son. He's actually Devaki's son and he has been brought here. This is one. Second, he's not directly your son. So that gave more pain to Yashoda. So she shouted, you came here to give me consolation, or you came to give me more pain by pointing this out. But I can never accept him as not my son. He's my son only. He's my son only. So she's crying like that. So he thought, what is this? My negotiation going in a negative way. Then he told that, okay, see, he may be your son. And every son, there is a time where we need to separate. That is always there. And he also continued saying that your son is not just your son. So he came for the welfare of the entire world. The entire world is disturbed by Kamsa. Now Kamsa was killed, and then now so many Asuric kings are there, and there is a purpose of his visit. He's Supreme Person of Godhead. So he has his activities, he has his task to be performed. So Yashoda started crying even heavily. He said that already I am in pain, crying, saying that my son is gone, my Krishna and Balrama has gone, and I'm crying heavily. And you're coming and telling more. Already my son thinking itself is my heart is breaking. He's separated from me. Now you're coming and telling that he's Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what will happen? So are you giving me more trouble? You are giving me more pain. And she's crying in more pain. That Supreme Personality of Godhead also, then he is also gone, like this. So then Uddhava is thinking how to thought. Already he was thinking while coming, he said that every day somebody will separate. If we have a child, one day the child will get married and go, or he'll take up a job and go, or we will die when we become old age. In this way, separation is part of the material world. He wanted to tell that, but when he cannot tell, when he tell that, then there's no meaning. He cannot tell that because Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then he thought that I will tell this, that every day everybody has to feel separation. But how can I say that this lady is not crying for an ordinary child, which is part of the taking over because of karma and time. Time separates everybody. Karma separates everybody. So many things separate everybody. But Supreme Personality of Godhead separation, if somebody is crying for that, that is absolute truth, and it is real, and it is glorious, and it is worshipable, and it is a real constitutional position of a spirit soul. One should cry for Krishna, Vipranamba Bhava. How then he was not able to pacify, and he also started feeling very morose. Oh, this kind of love I have never seen. I thought that in Dwaraka everybody is very attached to Krishna, and they are so much speaking about Krishna and all that. But after seeing this, we are not even reached a tinge of what is happening here. This is really, really too much. Then he goes to the gopis, and gopis comes, and he has brought a lot of jewels and silken garments for all the gopis. So much he has brought as gifts. So they come and blaspheme him, saying that, blasting him like anything. Krishna sent all these things like a bribery to close our mouth. He won't come, he will send somebody else, and he will send this. He thinks that we will wear all these things, and we will be very happy with this gold ornaments and the silken garments. How cheaply he has thought about us is that he starts scolding Krishna, which he has never heard in Dwaraka. Nobody scolds, he's the king. And he's always pampered. So Uddhava is going bewilderment, and his head is rolling, and he was so confused that how this kind, he has never seen this. Somebody scolding Krishna, somebody is crying, like every statement he speaks goes in a negative way. So he was taken aback by seeing these emotions, where he's very confused. Then he reads one letter in the forest he takes, and Krishna has sent a separate letter for gopis, and he keeps Radharani along with all the gopis. He's reading the letter, and then Radharani is not answering anything. She's going and talking to a bumblebee. There is a black bumblebee coming and going around her. So she's telling, hey, bumblebee, you're trying to cheat me. You're coming in front of me and going and hiding and this and that. So whatever indirectly she wants to speak to Krishna, she's speaking to the bumblebee. That's a complete chapter reading of the letter of Krishna to all the gopis is there. Very beautiful chapters. We should read Krishna book. It's very essential for every devotee that he reads Krishna, whether he reads Bhagavatam or not. Prabhupada, even before translating full Bhagavatam, first 2 cantos he wrote, and then directly he wrote Krishna book. So we should read. He advised his disciples, and we have amazing acharyas coming from these kind of readings. So we read 2 chapters, which are 2 cantos, which are lotus feet of Krishna. Then we can read, instead of reading 10th canto, we can read Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book. This is very essential, as important. I can say even more important than Bhagavad Gita. Krishna book is even more important than Bhagavad Gita, to get to know the Supreme Lord from authoritative source. So then what happened is this beautiful, because Bhagavatam is spoken by devotees, they can explain Krishna better than Krishna himself explain himself. It's not possible. He won't do that. he himself is bewildered. How am I attractive? So he becomes a devotee and gets to know how he is attractive. So Bhagavatam, of course, is superior. And then what happened is, then Uddhava, then he comes back. Then after that, he promises to all of them that I will bring Krishna. Somehow I'll convince Krishna and I'll bring him. So mission failed. His negotiation mission, his intelligent negotiation mission failed in front of genuine devotion. And he comes back to Vrindavan. Sorry, from Vrindavan, he comes back saying that, promising everybody, no. I just came here not to say that Krishna will not come, but to say that first he will send me. After that, he will come. So he just convey the message that behind I am coming, but first is that like a messenger. So he ulta he told, and then he went back and he said, Krishna, I failed, and I'm hankering. I'm in actually there are 4 rasas which are there in Dwaraka also. So as I told you, Madhurya Rasa wives are there, and he was in the Vatsalya, Devaki and Vasudeva are there. Vasudeva, Devaki and all are there. There are many mothers actually. Vasudeva had many wives and they were all very affectionate to Krishna in motherly affection. Devaki also. And Sakyarasa. Uddhava was in a very, very, very close Sakyarasa. Because there was one Gubja, that girl, she will invite him to associate with Krishna in intercourse. But still, Krishna will take to her house Uddhava. Very, very dear friends. Like there's very confidential in all Dwaraka activities. And nobody can walk inside the palace of Krishna without permission. Men can walk inside the Andapura, the individual private house of Krishna with his wives. But Uddhava can walk in any time. These are all very special. These are all mentioned in Bhagavad Bhagavatam. And then he's crying, he coming back and crying that, let me be born. There's a beautiful verse from Uddhava. Let me be born as a grass in Vrindavan, not inside Vrindavan also, what qualification I have. Around Vrindavan, outside Vrindavan, somewhere I'll be born as a grass, so that gopis will walk on top of me. Their lotus feet will touch me. I want to be born as a grass. So grass is considered Santa Bhava. And in Dwaraka, he was in Sakya Bhava, very close associate of Krishna, very confidential associate of Krishna. But after visiting Vrindavan, and he came and he prayed to Krishna, let me become a grass. I don't want to be the Sakya Baba in Dwaraka. So instead of that, I'll be in Shanta Baba in Vrindavan. So now also there is Uddhav Kund in Vrindavan, where we go, Vrindavan, Govardhan Parikrama. We see a Uddhav Kund, where Uddhava is there thinking of Krishna and his pastimes and witnessing everything by being grass in Vrindavan, around Govardhan Hill. So that is Uddhav Kunda. So the Shanta Baba in Vrindavana is considered higher when compared to even Sakya Baba in Dwaraka. So this pastime I would like to narrate here to show that how will I get that rasa is by associating. Krishna will not award this because it's very clearly written that in Nectar of Devotion, that Krishna will not award this Bhava and Prema so easily to anybody. It's very, very rare and difficult to, how much ever you approach Krishna, he will not award you. He'll give you deliberation. He will give you everything except this Bhava and Prema, because once he gives this Bhava and Prema, he has to become submissive to you. So it is also mentioned by following the footsteps of Vrajavasi and serving sincerely Vrajavasi, we will be getting. So in this connection, we have got and Uddhava also took that up. Same way, we also should serve the Vrajavasis. How will I serve the Vrajavasi? Not to go to Vrindavan, camp there, and Vrajavasi ko I camp dalna. I will do I camp for Vrajavasi in that way. They are not Vrajavasi. The gopis and manjaris who have appeared in the Acharya Parampara are Vrajavasis. We saw Rupa Manjari. We are all seeing Manjaris, and Radharani is the highest of all gopis. And with her mood, he appeared, and Gadadhar appeared, Radharani. And also Panchatattva, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Hiyanya, Balram Hoile Nitai. So this gopis, this Vrajvasis who are coming in our Acharya Parampara, by serving the Acharya Parampara sincerely, who are all Manjaris and gopis only appearing, Tunga Vidya. See, if you see Swarup Damodar Goswami, he is Lalita Sakhi, and if you see Ramananda Raya, he is Vishaka Sakhi, and Tunga Vidya, Sivananda Sena in Hooghly district. Sivananda Sena's house is there, where we went near Bhadrashwar. And that is actually Tunga Vidya Saki. Sivananda Sena used to take tour of all the people from Navadvip to Puri every year. He's the one who arranges the travel, transportation, and all the facilities for travel. So he's Tunga Vidya. In this way, if you see gopis are there and manjaris are there in this authoritative places, and then the mental speculative people will consider those who went and settled down for business in Vrindavan and call them as Vrajvasis. Of course, they are also very good, because instead of approaching other places, they are approaching Vrindavan. But this is not the Vrajavasi mentioned in the scriptures that we have to follow. There are many mental speculative ideas. We should be very, very careful, because now people are developing so many goshalas, even non-devotees, because government is giving large funding, and even private companies are giving large funding for animal protection and nature protection. There is a special sponsorship. So they are opening so many goshalas, non-devotees also. Then they say, sometimes I hear very, very wrong statement saying that unless otherwise you develop love for cow, you cannot Goloka, because Goloka is filled with cows. These are all mental speculative ideas, because they want to promote their cow goshala or cow protection or whatever campaign, and they just cannot speak against the law, rules, sorry, the scriptures. Scriptures mentions. So following Brajavasi, serving Brajavasi, thinking that going into Vrindavan and doing materialistic activity, there are 10 offenses to the holy Naam, that one should not perform material activities in Dhamma. So government is already arranging hospitals, arranging everything. So this is not the duty of this devotees to go there and do a eye camp and just to capture people's attention and gain followers. Very cheap motives, very cheap materialistic motives will lead into such mental speculative ideas. So it's very, very, we should be very careful that how Guru Maharaj came into the Dham and he followed his spiritual master's order and he cultivated all the Bengalis. Their Dhambas is already liberated. So there is a methodology to approach liberated persons also. And Guru Maharaj is the best person. He cultivated them directly Krishna consciousness and made thousands and thousands of Bengali devotees. Now also the largest congregation in the world is Bengali devotees, and cultivated by one person who came on the order of the spiritual master, and he made this happen. So genuinity is there. So what is unbroken chain is very clearly mentioned even in the introductory lecture of Bhagavad Gita by Prabhupada, that without interpretation, giving the Acharya Parampara's message as it is, giving without interpretation. No, for preaching, why can't we do that? Why can't this manipulation is also mentioned. You can know anybody can manipulate, it is up to them. There are many manipulations. But why Bhagavad Gita is called as it is? Why anything is as it is, Acharya Parampara is as it is? Yes, because it is without interpretation, the original message of the Acharya Parampara has to be delivered to the people, and people will accept. You have a mental speculation, you don't have a faith, then you are not an Acharya. You cannot deliver the fallen souls. Why? What to speak of liberated souls living in Vrindavan Dham, who are appeared in Vrindavan Dham? What to speak of such liberated souls who are in? So by mental speculative ideas and your diplomatic arrangements and calculation, psychological manipulation will not work on liberated souls. Even our conditioned souls may get bewildered for some times, but it will not give complete satisfaction. One day they will become dissatisfied. They may manipulate, psychological manipulation can be there for some time. But after that, naturally, they'll become dissatisfied. Vyasadeva became dissatisfied by writing Vedic scriptures. What to speak of mental speculation and all these psychological manipulative ideas of materialistic in nature? How long will that effect be there? Even intoxication taken, the effect is for 1 day, 2 days. So maybe for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. After that, they'll become dissatisfied. But what will give full satisfaction is mentioned in Bhagavatam again and again. What is that? The one is completely satisfied in heart. What is that, Rajeshwara Prabhu? What is the Sanskrit word which is used? Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. Yayatma Suprasiddhati. Suprasiddhati. Atma Suprasiddhati belongs to Atma. Spirit soul becomes satisfied only by spiritual activities, spiritual things. It will never be satisfied by these kind of things. So we should be very careful that we are into the right path of understanding who Brajavasi is, going into the Vrindavan and seeing everybody Brajavasi, and I'll follow in the footsteps and go behind the Paisa de do Baba, like that. Some babies will come and you go behind Brajavasi. I'll do this, or donation to them, I'll do this. Mental speculative ideas. Material, not understand the scriptures, not read the Srila Prabhupada's purports properly. I can say that even these kind of people have never read Prabhupada's purport properly. Because the problem sometimes happens is somebody poses as senior, then what happens is he is continuously given many engagements and he has to pose as a senior, and there's no time to either read Prabhupada's purport or he has to speak something extra more than what all the people in the world know. The problem is the solution is Prabhupada had made the book distribution very famous and everybody has distributed the books very heavily by the order of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So anybody has the book, reads the purport, and everybody will understand Krishna consciousness as it is. So by purity is the force. By purity, people may come behind you by voluntariness. People should come voluntarily. But you don't read the purport and you have not read, but now there's no time to either read or you want to post something extra. You need to speak something about Ram, something about this, that, something you need to speak to gain, because everybody knows everything from Prabhupada's purport. So you want to be extra, you want to be special, you want to be a different. If we are different, then you're broken chain, broken branch of Krishna consciousness. You have to speak the same stuff, baby. Maybe you can speak relishably, like Sukhamukhat Amrita Dhruva Samyutam. Vyasadeva also spoke Bhagavatam. Sukadeva Goswami also spoke Bhagavatam. But what is the difference when Sukadeva Goswami spoke? Everybody sat and listened. Vyasadeva sat and listened. And Narada Muni sat and listened. All senior acharyas, they listened. Why? Because Sukhamukhat Amrita Dhruva Samyatam is when Sukha touched the same subject matter. He presented in such a manner that even the most youngest, yeah, come on, Nimai, most youngest, sorry, when he presented, most neophyte can also understand. Most neophyte can also understand. And the person, normal non-devotee can also understand. He spoke in such a simplified manner that Vyasadeva was taken aback. And it was such a nectar rasa flowing, and they were relishing that rasa which is giving. So presenting the same subject matter without manipulation is one thing, but psychological manipulation and bringing a spiritual matter into material is something totally different. So you should be very, very careful that we present as it is, that everything is there for the service of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not dependent on anything, but we can engage the other analogies, examples, jokes, anything to serve devotional service, to serve the bhakti. Not that bhakti is dependent on some joke or some quotation from some scientist and this and that. Then only bhakti can be presented. No, bhakti is not dependent on anything. Bhakti is supremely independent. The Supreme Lord is behind this, hankering for this bhakti. So it is fully independent. So we should very clearly understand these differences. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Very nice. I think during this full Kartik month, the Shantagopi can tell one pastime on every slokas from Krishna book. It's very amazing because we are not able to read Krishna book altogether as planned. At least we can hear some pastimes in Kartik month every day. Okay, thank you so much. Anybody has any saying, comments, realizations, questions, please share with us. Fine.
Hare Krishna, sir.
Hari Bol.
Yeah, one thing, it's very true. Like when we hear from authority, from pure devotees, like things, it seems that the whole scenario is happening in front of our eyes. Like we see that how Bhishma Deva was enjoying that scene of he wanted Krishna to protect his devotee Arjuna and lift that chariot wheel. So all those things, so the whole scenario, it seems like it's present in our eyes, it's happening in front of our eyes. Jai. So yeah, it's true, it's very true.
Jai. This is the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, what you did. Very nice realization, good to hear that. Visualizing, because Bhagavatam is not a book to be read. Bhagavatam is a commentary. Commentary means like cricket commentary, what is happening. whenever you hear Bhagavatam, that will happen actually at the time.
And sir, reading, yes, reading, like we tend to forget. If we hear something like it, we can recollect it, and it hearing like it gives much more joy, I feel.
Jai. Thank you very much. Very wonderful realization, Deepu. Very wonderful realization, and it is true for every devotee.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Thank you very much for the association. So we will resume our Bhagavatam class after congregationally chanting together tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock, and after the chanting, the Bhagavatam class will follow at 7. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Pawan Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Patita Pawan Srila Guru Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Kartik Mas Damodar ki jai.
Jai.
Vancha kalpatarubhyasya
कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
जय भगवत सत्संग की जय।
जय
निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे।
हरि 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 बोल।